Next few questions we have are coming in from the Bearded Doomslayer. Hello everybody, this is part 2 of the Reddit Ask Me Anything video. Thank you so much for the overwhelming amount of support and feedback on the first video. I'm so glad to hear that you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed this second part as much as you did the first one. If you do, please leave a like and comment what you would like to see next, and I'll see you guys in the next video very soon. He says, "Hey Reno, your videos are some of the best arm wrestling instructional videos out there. I learned so much from them. I'm very glad that you're finding my content helpful, and I hope to make even more videos that will help you and others in your arm wrestling career." His questions are: what supplements do you take, creatine, collagen, etc., especially since your style is immensely stressful on the joints? You are right there, the Bearded Doomslayer. My pulling style is very taxing on the joints, especially in my elbow and shoulder, and even sometimes on my wrist. And the only supplements that I take right now are called Animal Flex, and it's a combination of a few different supplements that help me with my joint recovery and just keeping my joints nice and healthy. And I used to take creatine. As of right now, I don't take it because it keeps quite a bit of water weight in my body, and I'm trying to get rid of weight as of right now. So I'm going to get back on creatine once I am done with the World Championships. But yeah, those are the only supplements that I use. Second question is, how do you warm up optimally before a match? Now, everybody's going to have a different style of warming up, but what I like to usually do is just get a rubber band and go over all of the basic arm wrestling moves and eventually hit some certain angles that might be causing some pain for me, and warming them up really well so I wouldn't experience any kind of discomfort during a match. The third question is, what are your favorite recovery techniques during your pre-tournament prep phase? Now, I don't really have a pre-tournament prep phase. I am always preparing for a tournament. I always train the same throughout the year. Doesn't matter if a tournament is a year away or a month away or a week away, I'm always training the same. The recovery as well is the same throughout the year. And the best things that I found for me are probably JM presses and just doing regular bicep curls with almost full range of motion, and as well hammer curls and reverse curls for around 15 reps until I get like the blood flow going through my arms, and that recovers my arms quite well. The next question is coming in from Bepsi Boy. He asks, how do you differentiate strength training from tendon training? Tendon training and strength training are basically the same thing. If you put enough stress on your muscle where you would be gaining strength, so if you do any kind of progressive overload, you will be putting enough stress on your tendons as well for them to get stronger and basically grow in strength as your muscle grows as well. But of course, you could be referring to conditioning, which is way different from strength training. And how I usually approach conditioning and how I would recommend you guys to approach conditioning of your tendons is trying to hit certain and awkward angles that you would usually find yourself in a match, and doing it with moderate amounts of weight for, I don't know, 6 to 8 reps, maybe 4 sets of that, and really focusing on doing it nice and slowly so your tendons can get conditioned. So the next question we have here is coming in from Routine Site 416. He asks, hi Reno, what are your actual measurements? Wrist to fingertips, palm size, elbow to fingertip, upper arm, forearm, etc. Thank you in advance and Godspeed in your career. Thank you very much for the kind words. And my measurements, wrist to fingertips is around 19.5 centimeters. Palm size is 10.5 centimeters. Elbow to fingertip is around 51.5 centimeters. Upper arm is 47.5 centimeters. And forearm is 39 centimeters right now. Any other measurements, I don't know, maybe wrist size is around 20 centimeters. Now, I don't know any other measurements that you might be interested in, but those are, I think, one of the main ones that you wanted to know and the ones that are the most interesting. Next question we have here is coming in from Husserl Lover. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. He says, thank you for doing this. We all appreciate your time. I have 2 questions in bold with some smaller sub-questions for you to think about. So the first question is, why do you think the East is so much more successful than the West these days? And in the sub-questions, he asks, is it because of the PEDs, or is it because of the difference in training methods, or is it because of too much bro science in North American arm wrestling? And he even mentions genetics playing a big role in Georgian, Russian, Ukrainian, and Kazakhstani arm wrestling pullers. I think it comes down mostly to training methods, and I think you might be right when you say that there might be too much bro science in North American wrestling, and that might be their biggest setback. Of course, genetics play a huge role, but I think North Americans have pretty decent genetics when it comes to strength and endurance and other things that would be important for arm wrestling. And I think the PED usage is not something that makes too much of a difference. There in North America, they can use PEDs as well, same as the other pullers from other countries. So for me personally, what I think is definitely the fundamental difference, as you said, in training methods. That is the biggest difference that sets Eastern pullers apart from Western pullers. His second question, he says, lastly, adding to all of this, do you think the East versus West concept even makes sense anymore from a competitive perspective? Lots of the important matches are East versus East. I ask because the East is very dominant and has an answer for everything the West throws at them. I think East versus West as a concept still makes sense, as we are going to probably see more and more Western pullers being active and climbing the ranks and eventually competing at East versus West against Eastern pullers. But yes, you are correct that most of the big matches and some of the more interesting matches as well are Eastern pullers against Eastern pullers. Even though that happens quite often, East versus West as a concept still makes sense, even though we might have predominantly Eastern pullers pulling against each other. Next question we have is coming in from Olympex, and he asks, Messi or Ronaldo? Good question, quite a tough one. Had to think about this for a while, but I have to go with Messi. After all, he is the GOAT.
Recuerda mi nombre, Leo Messi.
It's Messi! Remember the name, Lionel Messi.
Next question we have here is coming in from Bastermater. Nice name. He says, hey Reno, you got a great attitude and you're very mature. I want to ask you, what do you think you need to keep ahead of Bacho and win again in a rematch? I think I just need to keep doing what I'm doing, not straying off too much from the original training program and plan that I have right now. Only maybe changing a few exercises, the way that I do them, but generally just staying on the same path as I am on right now. And if there was ever a rematch again, I would definitely be able to win in a more dominant fashion if I simply keep doing what I'm doing right now. Next question we have here is coming from Chris Taylor. He asks, do you like tacos? I love tacos. I love every kind of food. I'm not picky at all. And once I start eating, it's very hard to stop me. Next question we have here is coming in from N1KM. He asks, do you see your style changing in the future, or you think your press will always be your ace move? This is a good question, and I think my style might change a little bit, but again, it won't stray off too far away from the things that I do right now. I think the press will most likely always be my ace move, especially if I move up into super heavyweights where I really can't compete for the wrist control. And especially if somebody is a good top roller, I'm going to almost always have to go inside and press them or flop wrist press them. As long as I don't get injured really badly, my style is not going to change too much. The next question we have here is coming in from legal_arm_. He asks, is there anyone in Croatia who you think is really good but overlooked and unknown? I think the whole area of Balkans is full of great arm wrestlers who are overlooked. But now speaking for Croatian arm wrestlers, I'm just going to name a few who are really good, and then I'm going to tell you why they're not so well known as some maybe other pullers. Now, some of the best guys in Croatia right now are Andrija Šimić. He's my mentor and coach. He taught me basically everything I know about arm wrestling. The next guy would be Josip Oleš, and then Ivo Križan, then Viktorio Sovic, Dan Lenče, and even some of the other guys from the lower classes are amazing. The biggest problem with them is whenever they face someone that they have never seen before and they don't know how that guy pulls, how strong he is, what are his strong suits, what are his weaknesses, they are very careful on the start of the match and they usually don't do the thing that they would be best at. So they are very defensive and usually end up in a position where they are not so strong just because they are afraid of messing up. They are basically overthinking before even starting the match. So that's one of the biggest downsides in the Croatian arm wrestling scene right now, in my opinion, and might be as well all over the world, why some people just can't seem to climb the ranks. But if they got over that, they would be able to perform way better on international stages. We'll see now how they will perform on Worlds, and we'll see if they improved. Next question we have here is coming in from PandaMain5818, and he asks, do natural arm wrestlers stand a chance these days? This question is especially tailored towards the heavyweights / super heavyweights at the professional level. Now, it all depends on, again, your body composition. If you are a guy or a person with a big frame, long arms, big wrists, big hands, long fingers, you definitely stand a chance in the heavyweights and super heavyweights as a natural, even at the professional level. In my opinion, you can make great progress on the professional level if you have a huge frame. Now, if you are someone smaller, it's very difficult to be natural and extremely competitive at the professional level in the heavyweights or super heavyweights, just because the difference between body composition is so large that you just have so many disadvantages when you're fighting against someone with like a wrist that's twice as big as yours. The surface area allows your opponent, let's say, to use half of the amount of force or power that is maybe usually needed to open your wrist just because of the surface area of their hand. So natural arm wrestlers do stand a chance these days. In the professional level, it just depends quite a bit on your frame. Next question we have here is coming in from Teen Years 8. He asks, is there any predetermined factor / background that would aid in someone having a strong press? Why do you feel some people can pull so much more with their wrist cracked? I think there isn't really any predetermined factor that would aid you so much in having a good press. Maybe only having a big bicep and big brachioradialis, on which you can lean your arms on, and you can keep your wrist further away from your shoulder and you can press even more. But if you want to have a good press, just condition your elbows really well, go through that pressing motion with a moderate amount of weight, do it for 6 to 8 reps, and you should be good. After a while, your tendons should get stronger and kind of more used to that kind of pressure. And for the second question that you have is, why do you feel some people can pull so much more with a wrist cracked? Well, it's because you don't need to worry about your wrist at all at the very beginning of the match, which allows you to be more confident and faster at the very start of the match. Also, if when you're doing back pressure lifts or bicep lifts or anything, from the very top of your wrist, you might be able to lift 50 kilos, but down here, you might be able to lift 55 to 60 kilos, maybe even more. So what happens when you flop wrist press is you shift all of the pressure that you are producing from the top of your hand to this lower part of your hand. As you can see, the pressure is shifted here and you can immediately pull more. And you can feel less pressure from your opponent. And also you drop down and they kind of stay high up here, and you can push their hand out of their shoulders. If they're standing like this and you go for a flop wrist press, you often pull your opponent's hand away from their shoulder, and they're only left with their bicep and brachioradialis exposed, where you have your whole shoulder behind your hand and tricep pulling as well, and biceps and everything else. So that's why usually people can pull way better with their wrist cracked. Next question we have here is from Dabug is here. He asks, hi Reno, asking for a friend with no Reddit account. 3 best wins and 3 worst losses. Thank you and welcome to Reddit. Thank you for the welcome and thank you for the question. 3 best wins would probably be Alijan Muratov on the right hand, Bacho Saganashvili, and Sandris Shedis on the left hand, just because that was kind of a big milestone for me. And 3 worst losses would definitely be Alijan as well on the right hand, the first time that we had a match on the Worlds last year, Ivan Matyushenko, and Kamil Jablonski on ZG Strong or Zagreb Strong event last year. Those would definitely be my 3 worst losses where I felt like completely defeated and I wasn't so happy. Next question we have here is coming in from Liberation Z. He asks, hey Reno, what about match against Sagov? I would definitely love to have a match against Sagov, and it might be something that is coming sooner than you guys might expect. So keep an eye out on that. A match with Sagov might be right around the corner. The next question we have here is coming in from Dry Worldliness 2447. He asks, in which way would you set up the ladder of techniques / moves an arm wrestler should learn from complete beginner to advanced? I don't know what this Toproll specific thing means, but what I would put first would definitely be Toproll is the most, like, it's the safest technique, definitely for a beginner. Then learning the hook and press right after that is perfectly fine. And then you can branch off to other techniques and you can find something that suits you best. So definitely Toproll is number 1, then having a good hook and press, and at the end of it kind of combining all of that so you can transition from any move or from any situation that you find yourself in to any of those 3 techniques. I think that's like the best thing that you can work towards in your arm wrestling career right now. Next question we have here is coming in from WrongSale7202. He asks, you've previously commented that when doing the back pressure lift, you don't rock back plus drag because just rocking back is the more correct move pattern. Why is that? This is a good question, and it's because when you drag while doing the rocking motion, you make the whole lift way less effective. So you get momentum, and then so when you start off, 90% of people, if they have drag involved with their rocking back motion, with their back pressure exercise, it starts with dragging and then doing this. And you practically don't do anything with that dragging and with that rocking back. You shorten the range of motion that you have. The whole effectiveness of the exercise drops by a huge margin, in my opinion. And just doing rocking back motions will generally target your brachioradialis and your bicep, which you're trying to strengthen, much better than doing any dragging motion. If you only do back pressure with rocking, your drag back pressure will get stronger in turn as well, just because you'll be able to hold on more weight here without your arms separating while you're dragging back. So that would be the main reason why you don't want to include drag with your rocking back pressure. The next question we have here is coming in from Rambling Rooster. He asks, I'm curious on your ideas regarding low hand Toproll. If you ever used it, and if not, what are your opinions? Good or bad? And how you would fight against it? I think low hand Toproll can be really good. I personally never used a low hand Toproll from the very beginning of the match. I transitioned into a low hand Toproll once I started Toprolling someone, and then I dropped my riser and then continued like low hand Toprolling him or my opponent. But low hand Toproll is very effective against a predominantly hook pulling arm wrestler, but it's quite vulnerable to posting Toproll, regular Toproll, flop wrist press, and a few other things, high hook as well. That's why I think you should be careful if you ever want to use a low hand top roll. Use it on someone that you know for certain is going to go in for a hook. Next question we have here is coming in from Benzo1324. He says, "Hi Reno, what are your best numbers on back pressure, biceps, cupping with rolling handle, and that side pressure exercise with the strap? You showed it in a video, the only side pressure exercise that you need. Also, have you ever tried Devons pronation lift?" My numbers right now on the classic back pressure are 75 kilos. That's my maximum. Same goes for biceps, 75 kilos. Cupping with rolling handle is 67.5 kilos. The side pressure exercise with the strap, my best is 55 kilos. I tried the Devon pronation lift, but I never went over like 40 kilos just because I don't like it. It doesn't suit me very well, and I think there are better ways of training your pronation. That way from the ground is very awkward for me, and I don't find it that useful or as that great of an exercise as people might put it. The next question we have here is coming in from Apprehensive Sugar 532. He asks, who would you like to face in the future? Toddzilla, Michael Todd? So in the future, I really don't have anyone in my sights as of right now, except maybe a rematch with Ivan Matyushenko on the left or right hand. But having a match with Toddzilla or Michael Todd is perfectly fine by me. I would like to pull both of those guys. I think they would be decent opponents who I would have a lot of fun trying to beat. The next question we have here is coming in from Sock in Hell. He asks, how important are pure bicep exercises, supinated grip curls, for example? How important is bicep for side pressure in your opinion? Pure bicep exercises are very important in my opinion, and I have two bicep, especially like bicep with a supinated grip exercises in one day, in which one is a static hold and I do a rocking motion. It's like a back pressure lift but supinated, and the other is from a higher angle. I do a pulling motion like this. How important is bicep for side pressure? I think it's quite important actually. Side pressure isn't one thing like some people might think. Side pressure is a combination of your whole arm strength combined with a little bit of shoulder strength, a little bit of back strength, and a little bit of your chest strength. So it's a bunch of other things combined into one. So the best way to improve your side pressure strength would actually be to just kind of train your hand overall, isolating every single muscle, and collectively, if they're all strong, your side pressure will be also strong. So yes, bicep is quite important for your side pressure strength. The next question we have here is coming in from arm_break. He says, Pozdrav Reno, or hello Reno. Tell us, who was your role model growing up in the sport? One love from Slovenia, and stay massive. Thank you so much for the support. My role model growing up was mostly Devon. I watched a bunch of Devon's videos and Arsen Liliev as well. So he was just someone that I looked up to, and I thought he was super cool with the way he flash pinned everybody. Maybe even John. I would say John inspired me to always be versatile, and I saw the amount of benefits you get from being versatile. So those were a few of my role models when I was growing up in the sport. The next two questions we have are coming in from SiteFun9208. He asks, many arm wrestlers, most notably Devon, preach that the best way to arm wrestle for most people is avoiding holding on to your opponent and focusing on rising. What are thoughts on this? That's not a bad rule of thumb. I would say for most people that's like the best way to arm wrestlers, especially for outside pullers. This applies mostly to them. If you're an inside puller, you somewhat want to hold on to your opponent, not too much. I found that kind of letting your hand slide over your opponent's hand when you're going into a hook is way better than actually grabbing them and trying to cup them in. It's way easier just to kind of slide in and shift their, let's say, the force that they're exerting on your hand more towards your wrist than your fingers, then you can hold on to them way more easily. Focusing on rising as well is perfectly fine. I like to set up high on every single move that I do, being that a press, top roll, or a hook. Always keeping your rising high is very good. So I would mostly agree with Devon. His second question is, what are your thoughts on arm wrestling as a potential Olympic sport? I would love this to happen, and I think it's very plausible that this will happen. I think this will be a massive step forward for our sport and for our community. I think people would take us way more seriously. Athletes would be paid, and they would get certain rewards from their countries for, you know, finishing first or just getting to the podium, so in the top 3. And in general, I think people would be more motivated to compete in these tournament-style kind of competitions, especially if it's going to be in the Olympic Games. Next question we have here is coming in from Das Zebra Chelshe, and he asks, thoughts on Derek Smith as a future opponent? I'm not against that. I think Derek would be a good future opponent for me, but I think Derek still needs to kind of get on a higher level a little bit when it comes to his table IQ and his power overall. He is a good arm wrestler. He has immense potential just because he has a giant frame and he's huge. And I think as long as he continues training and progressing in the way that he's been doing so far, we might even have a match in the future. Next question we have here is coming from Mropman. He asks, how do you fight guys with big hands with your hands? No offense, and how you set up your hands against them. No offense taken, I do have small hands. You're just, you know, speaking facts. And how I usually fight guys with bigger hands, it depends on what technique they're going to be using. So if they are going to predominantly be top rolling, I definitely like to carve my hand in more and get their thumb line, so this line, as deep as I can in my palm. So the deeper that line is, the more safe I feel and the more confident I feel that I'm going to be able to cup them in and force them into a hook or a press without worrying about my wrist too much. But if they're a inside puller, I usually don't have any issues with them, as their hand size rarely affects the way that I can pull from an inside position. So definitely I would recommend you to try to carve in as much as you can and leave a little gap when you are setting up so you can react a little bit faster to their, you know, attack at the very start of the match. Last question for today is going to be from Lord Gadeya. He asks, were you already stronger than everyone else before you started training? I was quite a bit stronger than the rest of the kids my age when before I started training. When I was younger, I was able to beat people who were anywhere from 2 to 4 years older than me in arm wrestling, sometimes even older. But I didn't have crazy amount of strength for someone my age at that time. But I was definitely a bit stronger than the rest of my peers at that time, and that definitely helped me to kind of get into strength sports in general and into arm wrestling as well. So guys, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really tried to answer all of your questions, and the ones that were repeating themselves, I kind of just skipped over them because there's no point in answering the same question twice. Leave your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about this kind of a format of video? Do you like it? What would you like to see next? And I'll be seeing you guys in the next video very soon. Bye.